Hi, fifth graders. We're here for Fantasy Book Club session 17, where we're going to be talking about analyzing part of the story in relation to the whole story. So, as I've said throughout this whole unit, is that your fantasy book authors, they put things into the book for a reason. There's a reason for everything. And usually, every little thing that they put in the book has a deeper meaning to it. And so it's our job to figure out what that deeper meaning is. And so we're going to do a little bit of that work today. So our learning target today is that I can choose a key part from the fantasy book and explain why it is important. All right, so we're going to be picking an important part, whatever important part in your fantasy book you think that is, and you're going to explain why it's important. And you might be thinking, well, why do we need to do this? And this is important because almost everything in fantasy books, there's a reason for it. And it's our job to figure out why that part or why that is in the fantasy book. So when I think about analyzing why one part of the story is important to the whole story, here are some things that I want to be thinking about. First, we want to describe the scene in the story that we're analyzing. Next, we want to explain how this part in the story works to do one of these things. Maybe it develops a character. Maybe it develops a mood or a certain tone in the story. Or it could develop a problem or an obstacle. All right, so we want to identify just, what is this part in the story? What is it doing? What is it developing? And then finally, we want to explain how this part in the story develops a larger theme. So how does it connect to that deeper message in the story? We're going to go ahead and take a look at a scene from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This scene is towards the end of the movie and end of the book, where Harry, Ron, and Hermione are searching for the Sorcerer's Stone, and they are faced with some challenges. And this challenge in particular is where they have to play a game of wizard's chess. All right. I chose this moment because I felt like it was important, and I want us to take a look at it and figure out why is it important to the whole story. And so let's go ahead and
now what do we do?
It's obvious, isn't it? We're gonna play our way across the room. All right. Harry, you take the empty bishop square. Hermione, you'll be the Queenside Castle. As for me, I'll be a knight.
What happens now?
Well, white moves first, and then we play.
Ron, you don't suppose this is going to be like real wizard's chess, do you?
You there, D5! Yes, Hermione. I think this is gonna be exactly like wizard chess. Castle to E4! Pawn to C3! understand right, Harry. Once I make my move, the Queen will take me. Then you're free to check the King.
No. Ron, no!
What is it?
He's going to sacrifice himself.
No, you can't! There must be another way!
Do you want to stop Snape from getting that stone or not? Harry, it's you that has to go on. I know it. Not me, not Hermione, you. Knight to H3. Check.
Don't forget, we're still playing. Checkmate.
All right, so we went ahead and watched that scene of the chess match, and now I went ahead and I wrote an example of analyzing a part in relation to the whole and explaining why it's important. So first of all, just a reminder, when I'm analyzing a part of the story in relation to the whole, I want to describe the scene in the story that I'm analyzing. 2, I want to explain how this part in the story works to develop a character, develop a mood or a tone, or develop a problem or obstacle. And then finally, explain how this part in the story develops a larger theme. So in my example, you'll see that I matched the success criteria color to the color of my response to make it a little bit clear of where each of those parts are in my response. So I'll go ahead and read that to you now. The scene in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone that I chose to analyze is the scene when Harry, Ron, and Hermione are trying to retrieve the Sorcerer's Stone and they are faced with playing life-size wizard's chess. In this scene, Harry and Hermione know they are not good at wizard's chess, so they rely on Ron to lead them through this challenge. This part is important to the whole story because it helps develops Ron's character. From the beginning of the book, Ron is seen as kind of a goofy character that has to work really hard in school to understand it. He seems like a typical young boy who likes to play and watch Quidditch, hang out with his friends, and would rather be doing other things rather than study his schoolwork. This scene is the first time we are able to see Ron develop into a different character than he was before. In this scene, Ron steps up and uses his knowledge of wizard's chess to win this challenge. He shows bravery and confidence, which are both traits we haven't seen in him very much in the book. In the end of this scene, he sacrifices his own chess piece to save his friends Harry and Hermione. We also see Harry have a big realization in this scene. Ron says to Harry, "Harry, you have to go on. Not me, not Hermione. It's you who has to retrieve the stone." In this moment, Harry realizes that he can have his friends help, but ultimately, in the end, he is the one who will need to retrieve the stone and face Voldemort. This scene develops the overall theme in the story of you can be brave even when you don't feel brave. Ron was brave to sacrifice himself even though he was unsure what would happen when he did so. He knew it was for the best and that he needed to in order to save Harry and Hermione. Also, when Harry realized he would need to retrieve the stone on his own, he probably was not feeling brave. He was an 11-year-old kid, after all, about to face Voldemort, the most evil wizard. Harry does it anyway, though, and knows he needs to do it to protect the wizarding world. All right, so there's my example of analyzing a part of the story and explaining why it's important to the whole story. So your assignment looks like this, and you are going to do that exact thing that I did, except you're going to choose a scene from your fantasy novel that you are reading. All right, follow that success criteria that I followed, and go ahead and write why that part that you chose is important to the whole story. All right, thanks, guys.
Hey, fifth graders, it's Miss Olson, and we are meeting here for lesson 18 of opinion writing. We're working on wrapping up our speeches and getting them polished and ready to share. So let's get going. The targets for today is that I can edit and publish my speech. And then the second part of it is that I can prepare to present my speech in a polished and powerful way. And those are really the last couple steps in speech writing. And I'm really excited to hear your speeches that you guys have written. So for the editing portion of this lesson, we're really going to be focusing on those same strategies that we've used in the past of making sure our writing is easy to read and has the correct spelling and punctuation, capitals, organized into paragraphs, those things. So this checklist came along with your packet this week. And so we're checking for each sentence. Did we have ending punctuation? That would be the two-finger strategy that we use. The next one is making sure that we don't have run-on sentences. Again, that goes with the two-finger strategy where you put your finger at the beginning of the sentence, the end of the sentence, read it. Does it sound concise? And does it have like the naming and the telling parts of it? Or is it too long and really could be broken up into two sentences? The next thing is when I read the text to myself, does it make sense and does it sound smooth? This is where you should probably practice reading out loud, or in class, this is where we would whisper read to a wall because we don't want our brains to trick us into thinking it says something that it doesn't. And then the last one is just making sure that you have paragraphs, that there's spaces in between those paragraphs because it helps keep your ideas organized and makes it easier to read. At the end of this lesson, I'm going to put on the rest of the videos from previous lessons where we have done editing that go over the very specific strategies again. So the two-finger strategy and the swooping strategy for spelling. So if you've forgotten how to do those will be attached to the end of this lesson as well. The next part that we're going to work on has to do with how we deliver speeches that are very powerful and ultimately as powerful as our writing, because we've done a lot of work in researching and making our reasons really strong and convincing. And it's very important that you can speak those things well so that people don't have to really focus in on what it is you're trying to say. They can just clearly hear the message and that it sounds like you're very passionate and feel strongly about that. So one of the things is making sure you're looking at the audience during some of the parts. So you don't want to stand or spend the entire time reading from your speech. You want to make sure that you're looking up and making eye contact with the people that you're talking with. Okay. The next piece is that you're standing up and that you're very confident and standing tall, right? Making it so, like sometimes when we're feeling embarrassed or shy, we shrink down and we try and hide a little bit. And during a speech, the reason you're giving the speech is because you feel so strongly about what the topic is. And so you want to be confident in that. Really important to take pauses after each sentence. This helps us to not go too fast through our speech and also just makes it so everybody can really absorb what it is that you were saying. Another piece that can be helpful is using hand gestures. How are you explaining? Can you use your hands to really make a point stand out? Okay, and then you also want to speak in a loud and confident voice where everybody in the audience can hear you. So I found this example of a speech that was given by this kid, and I just want you to listen for all of these things in his speech, but even noticing the things in his writing. He has an amazing hook. He has a lot of good reasons and details to support it, and his speech is pretty short. It's not even 4 minutes long, so we're going to watch that together.
Once last year I got armor and a sword. I found a dog and played with him. I built a house and made a garden. Night came and monsters were everywhere. There was an evil lord that I started killing. Just as I was about to destroy him. Time to line up! Hello, my name is Simon Link, and I'm talking about why kids should have an hour-long recess. Did you know that genes change when they get playtime? Out of 1,200 genes that scientists have studied, 1/3 of them have changed when they had a half-hour playtime. Since the 1800s, research shows that you learn better and faster when having playtime. Work that has breaks is more effective than work with long stretches. Some colleagues visited a school that had no recess. They asked them to have recess twice a week so that they could watch them and see what they were like. They were more focused and less fidgety on days when they had recess. Stress impacts on learning and health. For many children, especially those considered hyperactive, recess is an opportunity to expend energy in a healthy, suitable manner. Recess develops social skills. Recess may be the only time of the day when children have an opportunity to experience socialization and real communication. The outside light triggers the synthesis of vitamin D, which many studies have shown increases academic learning. The outdoors is the best place for children to burn calories, practice emerging physical skills, and experience the pure joy of movement. According to Ray Pika, who is a children's physical activity specialist, recess may be research even shows that when having physical activity at school, you usually have more physical activity at home, and children who don't have the opportunity to be physically active during the school day don't usually compensate during the after-school hours. Running around helps the brain. Thanks to advances in brain research, we know that most of the brain is activated during physical activity, much more so than being a couch potato. Now, stand up and do 10 jumping jacks when I say go. Go! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now sit down. I imagine a world where every child gets lots of playtime. I hope that if you have children, you will make sure that those children get lots of playtime. Thank you.
All right, so that kid, he had practiced quite a bit. Did you guys notice how even if he made a mistake, he just paused, took a deep breath, and he continued on with his speech? You could tell that his topic was something he felt very passionate about, and he really feels strongly that kids need more recess. He spoke in a loud, confident voice, and he didn't get embarrassed during any of it. So I hope that inspires you guys in your speeches, and I look forward to hearing them. All right, so our next piece that I'm going to show you is I'm going to actually attach an old video segment, not the whole video, just the part where we go over the editing strategies again. And so if you feel confident in the editing strategies and you remember exactly what they are, it is okay to stop the video now. If you feel like you need a refresher on the two-finger strategy and the reading the text backwards and circling the spelling words and swooping them strategies, stay on and you're going to get to see them. Again, looking forward to your speeches, and please rehearse them with your families and practice them and get them very smooth so that you're ready to share when we get together. All right, thanks guys.
So one of the things that we do is the two-finger tech, and we're always looking for complete sentences using our two fingers. So we hold up our two fingers, put one at the beginning of the sentence and one finger at the end of the sentence, and then read the sentence in between. So for my sentence that I put on there, the gnome with the tall fuzzy hat is the best gnome in best gnome in my collection. I also check that there is a capital at the beginning and that there's punctuation, a period at the end, and that seems to be the right punctuation to go with it. So as you are doing your two-finger check, you want to make sure that you have the capital at the beginning, the appropriate punctuation at the end, and does your sentence have the subject, what we're talking about, and the predicate, which is the action or the description of them. Okay. Then the next strategy that we do is for a spelling strategy. And many of you have done this in your writing, but it's kind of a strange strategy where we start at the bottom of our writing and we actually read it backwards. And the reason we read it backwards is if we're looking for misspelled words, a lot of times if we just read the writing starting at the top and going down, our brain actually tricks us and reads it as what it should be because we wrote it and we are kind of predicting ahead of time what it should be. When we read it backwards, it kind of isolates each word one at a time, and so then we can circle the words that we're just not sure about. So if I do that on this one, I would be collection, my, in, gnome. And I circled gnome because that's just a weird word. It doesn't look like it would be the right word, so it might be one I want to just double check on. Best, the, is, hat, fuzzy, tall, the, with, gnome. Again, I'm going to circle that just because if I do find out it's spelled wrong, I want to make sure I get them correct in all of them. And then so that is the strategy that we're going to use to look for misspelled words and just going back through and circling them. So I want to teach you about a strategy that you can use when you're trying to spell some of the words that are a little bit trickier. One of the things you can do is think about words and the number of syllables they have. So I know you guys are really good about thinking about that and are able to identify how many syllables are in a word. And so if I take the word gigantic, for example, that one might be a little overwhelming to try and think about spelling, but I can think about it in terms of syllables. So I take the word gigantic and I identify the syllables. There are 3, so gigantic. And so I'm going to put 3 sloops on there to represent each of those syllables. And then I'm going to think about which letter sounds or which sounds would go in each syllable. So that very first one I would have jive, and take. And so when I break it apart like that, it makes it a little bit easier to kind of figure out which letters and the order that the letters would go.
Hi, 5th grade. Mrs. McMillan here with your McMillan Minute or 10. Let's go ahead and get out your first day of math. Make sure you have that. Make sure you have a pencil and you're in a quiet place. And then meet me back here when you're ready for that. Go ahead and press pause and go take care of those so that we're ready to go. Right. Welcome back, guys. Glad you're here. Let's go ahead and go over what our target is for today. Today, we're going to be talking about exponents. And our target is I can multiply using exponents. You have 3 steps that you'll need to do for your success criteria. You're going to need to show the standard form, the factor form, and the exponent form or the exponential form. And I'm going to go over all of those. So right now, those might sound new to you. And you're right, you haven't done this yet. But I think you're going to catch on rather quickly. Remember, when you're done with this packet, take a picture and send it to us. We appreciate that. All right. So if I look at this first page, actually it's the only page, it says exponents and power of 10. And I'm going to go ahead and read to you this top because it really talks about what we're doing today. So it says when you multiply tens together, like 10 times 10 times 10, the product is called a power of 10. And I'm going to underline that because we're going to keep coming back to that power of 10 and what that means. You can use an exponent to show a power of 10. So exponent is going to be another vocabulary word that we're talking about a lot today. The exponent tells how many times you multiply 10 by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this box here with you so that these other problems should come a lot easier. Okay, so when we're thinking about an exponent or a power of 10, I'm just going to start here with 10. And 10 is the standard form. This is how we would write our numbers in everyday life, right? If I was writing 10, I would just write 1, 0. The factor form is how many, like up here, how many 10s do I multiply together to get this? Well, I just multiply 1 10. And then the exponential form is saying just that. And I don't know if you can see that. It is 10 to the first. So that 1 is the exponent. This little tiny number here is the exponent. All right, let's go on. I have 100. I know 100 is 10 times 10. And then the exponential form is 10 to the second power is how we say that. 10 to the second power. I know that 10 to the second power is the same as 10 times 10. All right, let's go down to the next problem. We don't have anything here, so let's see if we can figure out what we're doing. We have 10 times 10 times 10. Well, we know 10 times 10 is 100, and 100 times 10 is 1,000. So we know the standard form would be 1,000. And the way we would write this exponential form would be 10, and then we could count those numbers of 10s, 1, 2, 3. So 10 to the power of 3. Or we could also look back here and say, oh, there are 3 zeros, right? 3 place values. That also lets us know that it's 10 to the third power. Let's move on. Here we have 10,000. Well, we know that 10 times 10 is 100. Times 10 is 1,000. Times 10 is 10,000. So we just multiplied 10, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 10 to the fourth. Let's keep going. Now we have 100,000. Again, we could count those zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or I could think about how many times did I multiply 10? 1, 10 times 10, 100. 1,000. 10,000, 100,000. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 10 to the fifth power. Okay, and let's look at this last problem here. Over here in the exponential form, I have 10 to the sixth, right? So I know I'm going to multiply 10 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now I know I'm going to have 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to have 1 million. 10 to the sixth is 1 million. All right, so now you're going to be multiplying each of these by powers of 10. Okay, so you will have an original problem like 43 to the times 10 to the second power. We know, here's your factor form here. 43 times 10 times 10. Then you're going to show your standard form. And then you're going to show, then you're going to show your factor form, and then you're going to show your standard form. Thinking about how you go through each of those steps. Make sure you use this example when you are multiplying. Just like a few weeks ago when we used the place value chart, this is connected to that. So you will notice that I put in another place value chart for you to do the same thing if that's helpful. Putting in 43, right? 4 10s, 3 1s, and then thinking about times 10 times 10. All right. We will go over this more in your book club group. And I just want to go over that. Remember, we can multiply using exponents is our target today. You're going to show the standard form, show the factor form, and the exponential form. All right. Keep up the good work. You can do this. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye, 5th grade.